settlement area and adjacent to the Inuvik settlement region. As we gather here today, let us remember the significance of this land to the Gwich'in people and commit to working towards a respectful and collaborative relationship with all Indigenous peoples. Thank you. Item 2, adoption of the agenda. Any comments? None. Item 3, declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. Anyone? Nothing. Item 4, delegations, presentations, or petitions. Are we doing 8.1 under presentations? No?
No, it'll be under new business specific to it'll be specific to the topic.
We have none. By the way, welcome to the members of the public that are here.
Yeah.
Item 5, public question period. Anything?
Excuse me, Mayor?
I'm sorry, we do have a presentation, the RCMP report, so going back to that, I didn't mean to leave you out, Jesse.
Quite okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope everyone's enjoying their summer. Probably, again, it always seems to be a bit of a broken record when I come and present, but the big thing from July was another search warrant under the Controlled Substances Substances Act. One thing I would like to point out about that was the amount of cash we seized. From what I hear from the members who've been here for a while, probably one of the largest ones we've had here in a number of years. So it was excellent work by the members. You know, that investigation, it was quite lengthy, so it came, you know, we got a good result out of that. And the other thing I would say, summertime, so the members, hopefully you've seen them out and about, because I know that they've been proactively out there, traffic stops, foot patrols, that type of thing. So hopefully the community's seen that and appreciated it. So, but I open up the floor to any questions or comments.
Any questions?
It's good work.
Anyway, I would like to say thanks for the drug bust again. I understand at least 2 of them were repeat offenders.
Yeah, it's concerning, you know, that people of the community continue to let those from down south operate out of their homes. So, you know, we will hold those people accountable too. And just hope that they don't do it anymore.
Anyway, thanks for your diligence. Thank you for the report.
You're welcome, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
6.1, adoption of the minutes of the July 22nd and 24th, 2024 council meetings. Any discussion? None. Item 7, action items. 7.1, the action items list. Any comments? Nothing. 8.1, request for reduction in development fees from the Inuvik Regional Corporation. Would you like to have a seat at the microphone?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Inuvik. I work in intergovernmental relations for IRC, for those of you who don't know me. I'm here to talk about IRC's plans for downtown Inuvik and some conversations around development fees. So, is it? Oh, okay, let's try going forward again. Did I push the wrong button? Oh, there we go. Okay. So, subject to final investment decisions, which we're hoping should happen next month. We have some 3 big projects happening. The first is a new hotel on the former Eskimo Inn site. A new 3-story office building in the parking lot next to the existing IRC building. And a new 21-unit apartment building on the empty lot next to Frosty's on Mackenzie Road there. So the hotel, I have some schematics here. I'm gonna pass those around. Oh, I put the wrong schematics. These schematics. Lots of papers. Oh, that is the wrong one. I need one. They're all looking at the same, so. There we go. That's the next building. So the foundation work for that, will be starting this winter. Targeting opening next winter, so probably sometime in early 2026. The existing Mackenzie Hotel, we will be converting to a mixed-use building, with apartments. The restaurant will stay on the first floor, and we'll probably have some other spaces in there, with the second and third floor being apartments. So we've got a rendering there. The next building is an office building. Basically, IRC is running out of space and is limiting our ability to hire more staff to run more programs. So we need more office space. And so that will go on the existing lot that's next to the current Inuvik Corporate Center. It will have on the first floor, I have other schematics here. It will have a cafe, a small and retail and cultural center on the first floor, and then offices and boardrooms on the second and third floors. There is potential to link it in the future to the existing building. That's not in the immediate plans, but it will be something that could happen in the future. And that's also looking around the same timeline, starting with the pilings this winter. And there's your rendering there. And then lastly, so there's a 24-unit apartment building that will be going on that empty lot next to Frosty's. You may have seen there was some geotechnical work happening there a few months back. And that'll be 17 two-bedroom, or 25 4 units, mostly two-bedroom units. We market housing operated similar to IDC's existing portfolio. And you've got a rendering there. Design should look pretty familiar to everyone. So in setting up these projects, we're obviously looking to start construction fairly soon and are negotiating for piles already. We did some math, we started preparing to do the permits, and they come to about $200,000 each, which is unusually high for, a development permit. And the problem we see is that the way Inuvik's permit system is designed, it doesn't scale well for large projects, and it's out of step with a lot of what other municipalities charge. So I think everyone agrees that, maybe we should look at reviewing these fees going forward. In the short term, however, we need to start construction and we need to get those permits in, so this is why we're making this request now. I understand it's important to be fair to everyone, and we're, willing to participate in those conversations with other stakeholders, but we also need to start construction. So I've got a table there. It's also in your package that outlines what a lot of other municipalities are charging. It's a little cut off on the screen, but they range for Fort Smith would be comparable to Inuvik. It's the only one I can find that is still comparable to, I believe that's Hay River would charge you just $100 flat. But the average of that is about $25,000, which is 87.5% of what Inuvik is would charge. So that's where the 87.5% number comes from. And that ultimately, I think it's not like that is a fairly significant reduction. I understand. It does mean that, it does reflect in how the prices we charge, whether that's rent, or fee or we charge. It also then changes the balance of investments IRC makes into Inuvik versus the other 5 communities, because we just by nature have to spend less in Inuvik. But it will balance out in that we're estimating conservatively about a $270,000 property tax increase from these 3 projects once they're built. And we're going to be putting a significant housing bill in Carmichael, which would also have significant development fees, and we're not seeking a reduction for that because those are multiple small projects and it's more complicated review. it seems a little more reasonable to us. But that is a significant, payment that would be coming. And even with what we're asking, I believe it still, there would be a $775,000 payment to the town over the 3 projects. Thank you.
Questions, Counselor Merrill?
The question is actually for the SAO. What exactly does the development fee cover? Is this things like bringing the utility order to the property, or what are our costs?
So there's 2 components with regard to that. If we were to do, what you're asking is putting a levy on it. So for instance, if we are developing the land, we could put a levy on the land as part of the development. At this point, in my experience, we haven't, and when I was asking the former SAO, he, even though it's in our land administration bylaw, we haven't actually applied it that way. We could have done that when we were doing the block 34 and 94 new subdivision, but at the time, it was chosen not to do that. So the development fees themselves, I've had our development officer look into this for us, and he's doing a little bit more research because that was one of the questions that I had as well in terms of, can we apply the levy in the development permit if it's undeveloped land and we have to, for instance, bring water to that. So he is looking at that. He also is looking at, when he was talking to me about it, he said, you know, consider when you're looking at the development, it's the administration of it, it's the research of the particular types of buildings and that type of thing. So really what we should be funding is the development officer's work. If we are going to apply levies to developing the land in order to have that development occur on the town's behalf, then we should be applying it as a levy. So there's 3 different ways that we could look at it that he is researching. He is going to make that recommendation to us. This is definitely one of those policies and procedures and bylaws that have to be amended. So it's going to take a little bit more work than a week. That's why, you know, we thought that our best option would be to ask for a deduction. So when we were looking at this as well, in case you do have that question, this actually is our zoning bylaw, reflects our development fees, and it directs to, it's a little bit complicated. So we have our zoning bylaw, and then we have our fees and services bylaw, and then we have a policy. So when I looked at that in terms of council's authority to perhaps give that discount, there's nothing that prohibits in any of those bylaws council's decision to make a discount, approve a discount if required. So that's my further question, or sorry, my further answer in case you were asking that.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other questions, comments? Counselor Wayne?
How many square foot is your hotel and new Eskimo site there?
I have that,
All 3 floors?
off the top of my head, I don't know, I have it in my email.
How many square foot is your yard there?
It is. Brandon, do you have it off the top of my head? I have it written down on the spreadsheet in my email.
17.
If you sent me that spreadsheet I sent you with the.
Having a hard time believing that Yelnats cheaper than that, so I'd like to know the square footage of all 3 floors, plus your square footage of your land.
I can look it up here. My email does not want to. It was in that spreadsheet I sent you. With the numbers.
I can't even find the email.
Yeah, my email is not. It's denying me access to my email. It did not say on the sheet. But so the reason you might think that Yellowknife is more expensive than Inuvik, because Yellowknife has what's called a building permit, which is different, goes on top of a development permit, because Yellowknife and say Edmonton, for example, they enforce compliance with the National Building Code. So that means an inspector will come in and go through your plans in much more detail than they would in Inuvik, and the inspector will come to your construction site and look and see if it meets the code, which is, a significantly more expensive process. Whereas in Inuvik and many smaller municipalities, that isn't done. It's just they focus on compliance with the zoning bylaw and the community plan.
Counselor Devlin?
Sure, I mean, just because we're a smaller place, doesn't mean we shouldn't have the same standards as anywhere else in Canada. I find that insulting, in fact.
Well, you would have to develop a whole building compliance department. Which, you need to have engineers on staff. Oh, here we go.
I think we'd also need a building inspector, if I'm not mistaken. Territorial refused to give us one quite a few years ago.
So it is, the gross square footage of the building is 42,900 square feet. And the developed area square footage is about 33,700.
That's all 10, 11 lots that are on that, is it?
No, that's just for the hotel lot. Yeah, that's all it's a weird parcel. Yeah, that's everything.
That's all 3 floors?
Yes, that's all 3 floors.
Any other questions? None. Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll make a decision at some point. Thank you.
Could I ask a question though, please? Mayor Wood, can I just ask another question?
Certainly.
So this development is really important, but my question is, where's the parking for either of these buildings?
So the parking, if you look at for the hotel, it's actually on one of the schematics. It's behind the hotel, so you would approach it's mostly behind the hotel. You'd approach from most of it from Inuvik.
Okay.
With the parking for the corporates, the new building, I believe that would go under that building, similar to the existing building. Yes.
Parking, the lot was purchased next to the corporate center.
Oh, they did buy that. Oh, okay, never mind. I take that back. So that would be essentially moving the parking lot one over.
The old Northern Images.
Oh, okay, yeah, yes.
Okay, if somebody works in that building, I don't think that's going to incorporate all the cars that currently park there.
We're doing like reviews to make sure, because there are parking minimums in the Inuvik bylaw, we're making sure that we meet the parking requirements.
The minimum requirement.
That are set in the bylaw, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Again, thank you for the presentation. Item 8.2. Cancellation of council meetings and swearing in ceremony for new council. In light of the upcoming municipal elections, administration recommends canceling the first committee of the whole meeting and the second set of council meetings in October, consistent with previous election years. To meet legislative requirements, there will still be a regular council meeting on October 9th. Additionally, a swearing-in ceremony is scheduled for Monday, November the 4th, with the new council's first meeting set for November 13th. The motion on Wednesday will be it resolved in Inuvik Town Council hereby cancels the October 7th and October 21st, 2024 Committee of the Whole meetings and the October 23rd regular council meeting. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. 8.3, 2024 final operating and capital budget. Did you want to make any comments, SAO?
We will provide more details at the in-camera session with regard to any implications moving forward from the interim budget.
Thank you. 8.4. Inuvik Curling Club increased the bingo jackpot. They're requesting an increase of the jackpot to $100,000 from $50,000, and selling jackpot cards for $40 a card. And a half blackout of the jackpot to $4,000. So the total prize amount for the jackpot would be $104,000. Any questions? Councilor Merrill, Nick, would you like to have a seat?
So I'm definitely playing bingo, but my question is, you guys already have the 100,000, like you've got that assurance that you're safe to go with this?
We do, we don't expect, a bingo, if we were to lose any money, would lose maybe between $5,000 and $20,000. And that, the jackpot would lose that amount of money, but you would cover that in the other games. So my experience with bingos is that when you don't cover the jackpot, the rest of the bingo covers it and you just make less profit. But there is enough of them. Like you would never lose $100,000 because people are gonna play. It's just whether you cover the amount or not.
Okay, and what time of the year are you planning on doing
September 7th.
it? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Devlin?
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is, from a social perspective, this is excessive, but I've sat for many years ago, I sat on the lottery committee when we went from $3,000 lotteries and every once in a while 10,000. And when we switched it to every Saturday being a 10,000, that was a big jump. I was here when we bumped it to 25,000, when we bumped it to 50,000, when Vince Sharp did his truck bingo that raised $53,000 for the youth center. I've seen a lot of these things. We're not in great shape, our community right now. I mean, grocery prices are through the roof. Utilities costs, as we all know, are crazy. And we're only 3,500 people. If you look at our region, 6,000, 6,500 people. And I know this will be hugely popular. And I know, we'll draw in people but in the end, there's only one or two, maybe three winners. And there's a lot of losers up there. And that's where I do worry that sometimes if we don't put caps on things, if we don't control, I don't use the word control, but, be responsible for things, that things can go out of control a little bit. I've spent years volunteering at bingos and I've seen addiction, there, just at the bingo hall, at the bingo, at New York. And I'm not against bingo or gambling or anything. I love poker. I'm not a big poker player, don't get me wrong. I don't know that we're big enough to pull this off. I mean, Yellowknife pulls 100,000 bingo a year. And that's a big deal bingo for a community of 25, 30,000 and with a supporting community of 40 to 50. So I'm really concerned about the number, Nick. I am. My 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Devlin. Any other comments? Seeing none, thank you very much, Nick. Item 9.1, bylaw to appoint a senior administrative officer, and that will be Cindy, of course, for first and second reading on Wednesday. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. 9.2. Sale of land, lot 8, block 105, plan 4156, a corner lot on 18 King Road, am I correct?
Yes.
To a company, local company, which I had to look up to make sure it was local, Haiku Drilling Tools Corporation. which is majority owned by an Inuvik individual. The price of $113,400. Any comments? Councillor Merrill.
So I'm looking at the map, I'm not really sure where King Road is. Is this where the bypass comes down the hill by
Yeah.
Stanton's?
It's,
Okay, so that
Industrial
area on the
yellow.
right-hand side? Gotcha, thank you.
Any other questions? No department updates tonight. Information items, we have a strategic priorities chart. Any comments? You have a pool update and the SAO will give you that one.
Jenna, can you pull it from the smartphone file?
Don't turn your mic on there, Cindy.
August 12th and 14th council meeting, the budget or capital project updates.
The capital project update. So we decided, despite not having a director's report, that we have had several questions with regard to the pool coming up, as well as Brainat Road and the bear fence. So we wanted to give you an update where we are right now. To date, as you're aware, the pool had a significant leak, as well as our concerns with regard to the foundation, the impact on the foundation because of those leaks. So we've been working with a structural engineer who has come up to assist us in doing the structural assessment of the pool. And we have been doing some testing to determine where we think that the leak is. So at this point, we've identified one of the major areas of the leak is the lazy river. And during the last repairs, there are inlets and outlets that were plugged. These plugs have since failed. So we do have a new plan in place, which is actually to take the liner off and to seal them up for good with a stainless steel or a type of metal to cover those outlets. We've confirmed that they aren't going to affect the circulation of the pool. They have no effect on that, so that's not going to affect the circulation of the pool. We figure that is the best way to deal with this, rather than attempting to plug those individual outlets. So currently, we have a plan in place. There is engineered drawings in place where some of the challenges are going to be is resources in terms of the materials, the sealant, as well as the contractors to come up to do that. So that's why I'm not going to say that it's going to happen next week. We just have them up next week, but I do not want to make any false expectations on the public. We do hope that by October, we will have a more firm date. If not, it's already open. The next part of that larger discussion is the foundation and the building itself. Again, we are working with the same engineers. They've come in to take a look at both sides of the building. In terms of the structure underneath the building, they have observed no indication of a structural compromise. So when we had them looking both at the pool as well as the other side of the building, red flags where we need to be, shutting down operations because of safety, they didn't identify any of those type of stressors in the foundation itself. There is a plan, there is a plan in place as well. We are going to be putting sensors because right now it was just, almost like eyeballing. Do you see a shifting in a movement, anecdotal movement? Oh, I noticed a crack here or a crack there. So we're actually going to be having sensors where we're going to get a baseline, and then we're actually going to get a more accurate reading of any of the building's movement. So that will be done on a more regular basis. And from there, they will determine if there's any remediation we can do to prevent some of the shifting. We have also asked them that, they can give us an idea about what the lifespan of the building is, because that was one of your questions in terms of when do we have to start fundraising for a new building. Now, in terms of that, no indication right now that we need to win the lottery or win the bingo next week. But it is something that is in our radar, and that's why we are doing the baseline and the monitoring to ensure that we've got that. Looking forward to the future, we have also identified how, if we do need to replace the building, is it one fell swoop? Are we without a recreation center for 5 years while we're building a new one? We don't want that to happen. So we are trying to think of alternative ways that we could do that. Maybe build part of a building, move the rink, move another part of the building. In light of that, it's questionable whether or not we can put that building back on that footprint, given the amount of melting permafrost damage to the ground underneath the building. That will be part of the planning for the future, but we have also done geotech to determine where else we can be putting the building. So we're trying to do two things. One, keep the building as long as we can. Two, start to plan for the future. So that's where we're at there. In terms of the rink, the reason why the rink was shut down back in March was because the cooling system underneath, one of the pipes had leaked, and it was a significant amount of brine that was leaking in there, warm, salty water. Again, we were questioning what the integrity of this, the foundation was. So far, there's no indication that there's any permanent or concerning damage right now. We have since fixed that leak, so the brine system will be working. We certainly have hopes that that will maintain and be fully operational come hockey season. So all I can say is we hope that the entire building is operational by the fall, including the pool. If not, we know for sure the rink is.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, next, anything you wanted to add? No? Okay. All right, the Brainat Road update, again, just for historical information. I get a lot of questions about when's Brainat going to be done? Why is it taking so long? A reminder that this originally was a plan where it was one fell swoop, where the funding and the proposals went out. They came back at a very significant higher price than you anticipated. So if you recall, this is split now into 3 phases. The first phase, which is already complete, is the Brainat Road. The idea behind the whole rehabilitation is you are widening the road, you are making turning lanes, and we're having sidewalks and signage put on as well. So we have the first phase, which is the Brainat Road, that was done last year. The second phase, which the contractor is working on this year, is the other roads. They have since widened and done the drainage and the ditching for King Minya. Anything else?
Well, it's not complete, but yeah, they started working on it.
Yeah, so they have started working on it. There's still some work to do. There's a little bit of some drainage issues on the far corner of Brainat and the school that we are looking at, seeing how we can remediate that as well. Now, again, understanding that where that big pooling of water is, has always been known to be low water. So there's a degree, there's some consideration of how much is the town going to assist in terms of getting rid of that, and how much is the GNWT responsible to, considering that that low area has always been there. So there's some work that we are doing with them there. Again, in consideration of it could be a shared expense, but we are looking at that and fixing that up as well.
Okay.
So that is where we are at. Reminder, it is a 3-phase. We're likely not going to see pavement until the airport paving is happening. And again, that timing is dependent on the airport project as well, unless we want to bring our own paving equipment up at a significant cost.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess the implication of that obviously is probably have to do a little bit more work on dust abatement, because we're gonna have open gravel road within town for much longer than we intended.
So we will ensure that our contractor doing dust abatement is on that. Yes. The final update that we have is the bear fence update. And again, I want to bring this back to historical context, where people are asking, why is the town putting up a bear fence? To understand that this is actually a result of a request by the water board for our water license, was recommended years ago that we put up a bear fence. So this is not just the town. I looked up at the RFD, I can pull it up if you'd like. That actually starts explaining this historical reasoning for the bear fence coming. So there are a number of stakeholders, and previous councillor Steve Barilak reminded everybody at the most recent meeting that this has been an ongoing project for years. This is also the reason why we have the blue bins now, to reduce the number of attractants. So there's 2 things that the town is doing. One, we are the ones that are facilitating the project to get the bear fencing up there. The second that we are doing is to address the bear attractants in town. We have been putting out more blue bins, as we've already described, and there will be a public education campaign. The public education campaign is not solely the town. There is ECC, which is involved, the GNWT, the water board. It is a much larger, hunters and trappers associations are part of this much more bigger collaborative project. So we don't have a specific timeline on that, when the drop dead date for you can't put your garbage out anymore. That will be coming this fall. The big focus, though, is on public education and understanding that garbage will attract bears. There are plans in place. ECC has already identified some key areas in town that they are going to be patrolling, as well as increasing the number of patrols there, and working with, again, the hunters and trappers to ensure that the safety of the residents. Again, there is some expectations, though, that the residents are also responsible for their own safety, and they will not be leaving garbage and that type of thing out. So there's a big component of public education that's coming that way. Where we're at with that project right now is, we used to call it the landfill access road, but in terms of funding and terminology, that access road is part of the berm. It's part of the actual development. When we're looking at the width of the berm, it's not a road. We're not going to have a highway up there. We are going to have an access road, which is perhaps the width of a pickup truck. So maintenance can be done there. So when we mean the road, it's more simply an extension of the berm. There was some concerns brought up with regard to how the fencing is going to be in the berm. And again, Mayor Wood had asked the engineer for a little bit more detail, which the engineer did provide. It's a much more robust system than just putting a fence post in. There is reinforcements, there's the design. The berm itself isn't just a mound on the ground. It's actually a much bigger structure than I think people realize. And I think from the mayor's standpoint, the engineer's answers sufficiently answered your concerns.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is where we're at right now. So it, again, was an expensive project that has been split into smaller projects. The first one being the access road / berm. The next is the electric fencing. So the fencing has come up. It's in town now. So we're just stockpiling it and waiting until the access road and the berm are completed. So that installation can occur. And then the electrification of it, we're bringing up a CCAN and using solar power to ensure that it is maintained during the times when the bays will be getting there.
Yeah, no.
And the CCAN is here as well, so. Those are the three major projects that we have been getting a lot of questions about. Again, I just wanted to tie in the historical part. That these are long-term, multi-year projects that we tend to forget the reason why we're doing some of them in the first place, or why we chose to do one thing versus the other. Any questions?
Councilor Merrill.
I just want to say thank you. It's a really helpful perspective to have. I do think a lot of people either didn't know the history or we've kind of lost sight of it. So that helps greatly. And I'm so glad we're still gonna have a pool.
Yes, just, I can't tell you when.
That's okay.
Just a quick note, the blue bins were not only put in to deter bears, it was to clean up the community. The old dumpsters, I think I referred to as Raven feeding stations here in town. Garbage is normally strewn all over the place. Blue bins have cured that problem. Anyway, moving on, yes. Partially moving back, you had an update on the community plan and zoning bylaw,
I think there's a couple more questions.
sorry,
Councilor Hardy.
oh, Counselor.
Thank you. Is there gonna be, like, who's gonna be maintaining the fence at the, around there? And is there like gonna be warranty on that for if there is shifting, things start to fall down? Are we, is Phoenix Fence going to be offering like some sort of warranty on that?
Phoenix Fence will be installed. The installation by Phoenix Fence will be based on the design we have, right? Are we gonna experience shifting? It's probably gonna happen in a couple of years. But I don't think we're gonna bring them back up to, it's probably gonna cost us more to bring them back up to fix it than to get somebody local to look at that. But yes, we can look at some kind of, we can have warranty conversations with them, and see what we can put in place.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
This is information.
Counselor Wayne.
I don't think the Bears want the fence. They've eaten our steaks 3 times now, so. While they're serving, they've eaten it 3 times.
Oh.
And as for warranty, I don't know how you're gonna put warranty on mud.
Just in case they fall over.
Yeah, reactive God.
The act of God's gonna be grizzly bears. Don't push it over. They don't much care about electricity.
Want to give the update on the community plan? Okay, the update on the community plan and zoning bylaw, SAO.
So that wasn't part of my presentation, that's why I'm sitting back up here again. So the community plan is currently in the minister's office. It has been in the minister's office for several months now, and they are ensuring that all community stakeholders were adequately provided with consultation. And they were waiting up until last week for consultation from the Gwich'in Tribal Council, which they have now received some comments and some editorial comments, as well as other comments that they are now taking a look at to determine how that will impact our community plan. If it's only editorial, they will review that with us before they make the recommendation or sign off on it. If it has more of an impact on the community plan itself, in terms of future development, then they will bring that back to us and identify where that is coming from. So I did make it very clear to the minister's office that we need to work on this sooner than later, understanding that there are likely 4 more council meetings. And that will have implications with regard to the 3rd reading, which means come the fall, if we don't get that information back, then we will have to restart the readings again with a new council. So that is where we are right now. Any of the flexibility that we have with regard to the potential zoning, changes to the zoning bylaw, we cannot do. We are restricted to our existing zoning bylaws, so some of the requests that might be coming in, council may have to make a decision where they have to say no because there is no flexibility within our current bylaw to allow different things like treatment centers in a downtown commercial core. Whereas the new zoning bylaw will allow some more flexibility for council to make that decision. Unfortunately, it's in the hands of the minister's office right now. And, at this point, we have done everything we can to provide opportunity for consultation, and it will be a wait and see if we can actually get this through for this council.
Thank you. Questions? None? Moving on. 11.6, the mud bugs update. SAO.
This is more of an information item. This does not need to go to council for council decision. We do have a bylaw with regard, a policy with regard to this. And we have followed the policy, advance notice was given with regard to any standby for the fire department or municipal enforcement. And it complied with everything with policy. So it will be happening September 7th, that weekend.
Any questions? Item 12, council concerns. Anything tonight? Nothing? We need a motion to go in camera. Harold and Alexis. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very, very much for coming, everyone.